Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Philip Port. My YouTube channel is Happy Visas. Today I'm going to be answering all your questions in regarding to my video, the prices between London and Moscow. So I've got some very good questions, and the most popular question was I didn't talk enough about salaries, let's say for instance in the UK. Yes, they're very high. I agree with that. Minimum wage is £10 an hour. You don't start paying any taxes until you've earned £12,500 a year. So yes, they're pretty good. But once you go over that £12,500, your employer pays about 11.5%. You're going to lose about 37%. And then when it gets a little bit higher, you're losing up to about 50%, maybe a little bit more. So yes, it's great if you earn less than £12,500 a year. Taxes are very low. But once you go over that, it's not so great. Now, in Russia, there's a lot of great jobs. Don't forget, I'm comparing Moscow and London. Now, I got a lot of friends who are earning 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 rubles a month. They're only paying 13% tax. And the ruble goes a long way, just simply because everything is so affordable. As I've mentioned before, rents are cheap, property's cheap, your utility bills are cheap. You can easily find a good beer for 120, 130 rubles, which is about £1.20. So there's a lot of things affordable that you can do in Moscow that you couldn't do in England, like for example the the metro and things like that. What I mentioned in the video. So now I'm going to look at my laptop and I'm going to answer the question. So Pavel Schnaps, he says, since I've lived in the UK in the 90s, it's extremely bizarre to hear one could even get to compare one to another. In other words, well, yeah, that's how far Moscow has come. It's one of the most beautiful cities in the world now. It's well developed. It's got good metro system, good train system. Everything is very good there now. Great restaurants. They've got that balance right of new and old. They haven't lost the old, and they've just complemented it with the new, and the new buildings and the new office buildings and the new restaurants and everything like that. Igor says, I used to work for big international companies, German company, and the expats were surprised that when you take into account the salaries that expats pay 30% tax, and he was only paying 13%, he was actually on the same salary as them. So that's what he says in his article. The work for a German company, because his taxes as a Russian citizen in Russia is less than a foreign national, he said his salary was about the same, and I agree with that. Married to the KGB says, hi Phil, great to see you, and all the points you make are food for thought and true. Thank you for that. I'm glad you like that. Hold on, now I'm trying to scroll down. Right. Now, it's all relative. Salaries in Russia are much lower too. Yes, they are a lot lower, but as I've said, not compared like for like, it's so much cheaper here. It's not apples and pear. Jack D says, can you recommend any English-speaking business networks? Plenty. Just go on Facebook, type in networks, hundreds of nice groups. I know we're on YouTube now, but I use Facebook groups all the time. Sorry about that, YouTube. Great video, very interesting. Together divine. London is way better than Moscow. I've lived in London many years, and I've lived in Moscow, and I love England, I love London, don't get me wrong, and I love Moscow, and I love Russia. I think they're actually very similar. It's just that I can't afford to live in London. It's impossible. If I went back to London, how would I pay my rent? It's just too expensive. I would afford a metro card, ridiculously expensive. But Russia has everything, especially Moscow. Great things that I can do in the parks, on the streets. There's always something free to do in Moscow. The Moscow mayor does a really great job of entertainment. I go to Sokolniki Park all the time. I go to Gorky Park all the time. There's always something for me and my son to do. and it's for free. Always some kind of music festivities, things like that. So I don't agree with London is way better. I can understand why some people like London better, and I can understand why some people like myself like Moscow better. Very, very close. Both great, great cities. So yeah, I've had a lot of feedback. I thought I would go a little bit into the taxes, just simply because that was the biggest question that came up, was salaries. So and you know, I thought I'd save till end the icing on the cake. Taxes in Russia, the taxes in Russia are very, very low. You know, I'm on 4% simplified taxation, or my wife is, or future wife, we've been together 8 years. She's on simplified taxation. We just pay 4% of turnover, the rest is ours. I can get a patent which allows me to make up to 30 million rubles for about £300-400 a year. I just register as a sole trader, I buy a patent for £300-400, and all that is tax-free up to 30 million rubles. So taxes are very, very low in Russia compared to the UK. Salaries are higher in the UK in a lot of instances. But I remember several years ago, all the Russians were coming back. They said, you know, the affordability, like dentists and medical care and everything that you would need, child care, was so much cheaper in Russia, like for like. And when you take into consideration that, okay, they might get a little bit less returning to Russia, they might. It was way, way better for them to live here and more affordable than living in London and paying all these astronomical prices. I do apologise that I'm a little bit critical of England. I love England. I'm just telling you the facts. Rip off London or grade Moscow, which is a great affordable city. Thank you for watching this video. I've just answered the most important questions on the video. Hope you liked it. On my last video, prices compared to Russia, Moscow, England, sorry. Thank you very much. Bye, guys.